Welcome, dear listener, to a journey into myth and wonder. Above us, the heavens stir, clouds gather, and the sky hums with ancient power. This is the story of Zeus, ruler of Olympus, and his sacred thunder. But do not imagine only fearsome bolts splitting the skies. Instead, hear thunder as a voice older than mountains, deeper than oceans. It speaks in echoes across valleys and rolls gently across the sea. It lingers in the hearts of those who pause and listen. To the ancients, thunder was never just weather. It was the reminder of divine order, harmony, and truth. They believed it was Zeus, whispering balance into the world. A call to respect promises, to live with fairness, to honor life's rhythm. So tonight, let us step into this tale with awe, not with fear, but with wonder at the mystery of the skies. The sacred thunder of Zeus does not strike to destroy. It arrives to guide, to teach, and to inspire. Have you ever stood beneath a summer sky, watching the light fade and clouds gather? At first, it feels like nothing more than weather, a shift in the air, a quiet curtain drawn across the heavens. But if you listen closely, there is something else, a hum, a hidden presence, a breath from above that speaks without words. The ancients called this the whisper of the skies. It is the beginning of thunder, not yet the roar of a storm, but a gentle murmur that arrives before. To them, this sound was never random, never just whined in the clouds. It was the sign of Zeus, ruler of Olympus, moving near. Imagine the people of long ago, farming their lands, fishing the seas, living by the rhythms of sun and rain. When thunder rolled softly on the horizon, they felt awe, but also comfort, for in that sound, they believed, was the presence of their protector. Thunder was more than noise, it was a voice. The whisper was Zeus calling across the sky, reminding mortals they belonged to something eternal. The god of Olympus did not always shout. Sometimes, he spoke gently. The heavens rumbled like a deep and steady heartbeat. This whisper carried meaning for all who heard it. To the shepherd on the hillside, it was reassurance that rains would soon arrive. To the sailor at sea, it was guidance, a reminder the skies were watching. To the village gathered at dusk, it was proof that prayers were heard. Even if the whisper grew into a storm, they did not hear destruction. They heard balance, life moving as it must, with calm and with challenge. Thunder reminded them that change is part of the great harmony. The whisper was also a lesson in patience. It does not rush. It builds slowly, like a story unfolding, like wisdom passed from one generation to the next. So the ancients would pause, their hearts still, their minds open. In the quiet between rumbles, there was space for reflection. Perhaps the whisper was a call to honesty, to keep one's promises. Perhaps it was a warning not to stray from the path of truth. Or perhaps it was simply comfort that the world was alive with divine presence. Even today, the whisper continues. Science explains it as pressure, lightning, and currents in the air. Yet when thunder rolls softly in the distance, do we not pause too? Do we not feel awe, mystery, and a reminder of something greater than ourselves? The ancients were not wrong to hear the voice of Zeus in the skies. They gave shape to a truth we still feel. Nature speaks. The world has rhythm. Thunder carries meaning beyond itself, both sound and symbol. It is presence, and it is poetry. So when the skies whisper, let us listen as they once did. Let us imagine Zeus watching over us, not in anger, but in care. Let us hear the voice of balance, calling us back to harmony. The whisper of the skies is more than a myth. It is eternity echoing in the present moment. It is a reminder that even the smallest of us is bound to the vast cosmos. And in that low, steady thunder, we may still find what the ancients found: comfort, guidance, and the sacred presence of Zeus. Long before the whisper of the skies, the world was not as we know it. The heavens and the earth were still young, their shapes wild, their balance uncertain. Rivers ran without paths, mountains rose untamed, and the universe trembled as it sought order. In this age of beginnings, Zeus had not yet claimed his throne on Olympus. He was young, destined for greatness, yet his path remained unclear. The sky was restless, and like the world itself, Zeus searched for balance. Then came the Cyclopes, the one-eyed smiths of legend. Born of earth and fire, they worked at forges that glowed with creation's flame. From their hands came not only weapons, but wonders infused with eternity. They looked upon Zeus and saw promise not of cruelty, but of wisdom and justice. And so, they chose to give him a gift unlike any other. Day and night, sparks flew as they hammered and shaped. They drew brilliance from fire and sky, and thunder's voice from earth and water. What emerged was no ordinary weapon. It was a symbol, a sacred bond between the divine and the mortal. Placed in Zeus's hands, it gleamed with radiant light, yet did not burn. It pulsed like a living heart, the heartbeat of storm and sky. The Cyclopes told him, "This is not for destruction alone. It is a reminder of order, a voice for the heavens, a sign the earth may answer." Holding it, Zeus felt its meaning. The thunderbolt was not a tool of fear, but of harmony. It was his duty, his responsibility, his voice. Through it, he could speak in the language of nature itself. The people below soon came to know its presence. When thunder rolled above, they did not only tremble, they listened, they learned, they felt the care of the divine. The thunderbolt was rain for the fields, renewal for the earth. It was the promise that storms bring life as well as challenge. The birth of the thunderbolt was the birth of Zeus's authority, not force, but guardianship, not conquest, but responsibility to protect balance among gods, mortals, and the earth. Stories say that when Zeus raised the thunderbolt, the heavens stilled, the seas calmed, the winds bent, and even the stars shone brighter. The thunderbolt was not just his, it was the cosmos entrusted to his care. Even now, when thunder shakes the skies, we hear that legacy. We remember the Cyclopes placing it in his hand. We remember Zeus accepting not only power, but burden. The birth of the thunderbolt is more than myth. It is a story of responsibility given and responsibility accepted. True strength is not fear, it is harmony. So when the skies flash with light and rumble with thunder, let us remember, in every storm, there is not only power, but purpose. When Zeus first took his seat upon Olympus, the world held its breath. The great struggles had ended, but the work of harmony was only beginning. For power without balance is chaos, and Zeus knew his task was greater than rule. He became not just the god of the sky, but the keeper of balance. His throne was high, yet his voice rolled across mountains and seas. Every sound of thunder was his reminder that justice must prevail, promises must be honored, and truth must not be broken. Balance was never simple to keep. The gods themselves were fiery, each with proud desires. Mortals too often reached too far, forgetting humility. Nature surged with storms, droughts, floods, and famine. In this vast, unruly tapestry, Zeus was the thread that held all together. When the gods quarreled, it was Zeus who raised his hand and stilled the skies. When mortals swore oaths, thunder above bore witness to their words. When seasons faltered, his voice reassured the earth balance would return. To farmers, he was rain after long silence, restoring fields to life. To travelers, he was the break in the storm, a path made safe. To cities, he was the unseen order that kept peace another day. The thunderbolt in his hand was no threat, it was a promise that no force would overwhelm another. Darkness would not conquer light, nor chaos erase harmony. His power was not destruction, it was equilibrium. Imagine an ancient city beneath a darkening sky. The people look up, not only in fear, but in respect. Thunder rolls, and they bow their heads to the voice of balance. They know their lives are woven into the greater fabric Zeus protects. Balance is not stillness, it is the steady dance of opposites. Storm and calm, sowing and harvest, silence and song. Zeus did not forbid storms, but he ensured they gave way to peace. He did not forbid ambition, but reminded mortals to temper it with humility. He did not silence the gods, but guided their quarrels toward resolution. Stories told of Zeus listening more than he spoke. His silence was not indifference, but patience. The world always shifted. His role was to guide it into harmony. To keep balance is to walk a narrow path. Too much force, and order becomes tyranny. Too little, and order collapses into chaos. Zeus walked this path with thunder in his hand and wisdom in his heart. His thunderbolt was not a chain, but a compass. It showed that even the greatest power must serve harmony. To the ancients, Zeus was not only king of gods, he was the steady heart of the universe, guardian of balance. His thunder did not say, "I will destroy." It said, "I will protect. Remember truth. Remember harmony." Even now, when thunder rumbles, we hear that reminder. It calls us to pause and ask, are we walking in balance? Are we honoring truth, keeping promises, living with harmony? Zeus, the keeper of balance, speaks not only to myth but to us. His voice rolls through the skies, whispering that strength is balance. To protect harmony is the greatest responsibility of all. And as the ancients listened, so can we. For in the thunder lives the eternal promise of balance and the guardianship of Zeus. When the skies darken and the winds stir, there is a pause. The air grows heavy, the earth waits, and hearts beat faster. Storms are not only weather, they are stories above our heads. For the ancients, a storm was never empty noise. It was the voice of Zeus, carried in thunder. Each storm was a conversation between sky and earth. The deep rumble was not random, it carried meaning. Sometimes a warning, sometimes a reminder, sometimes comfort. Thunder was respected more than it was feared. It was Zeus, speaking in a language beyond mortals. Imagine standing on a hillside as rain begins to fall. Lightning dances on the horizon. Then comes the voice, low, powerful, echoing in chest and earth alike. You do not need words to understand. Its rhythm speaks to your heart without language. The storm was not always fierce or violent. Sometimes it came softly, like a whisper across the sky. A gentle rumble meant Zeus was near, watching. These were not sounds of anger, but of presence. A reminder that balance and order still held. In temples, priests listened for meaning in thunder. A sudden crack during an oath meant Zeus had heard. A distant roll across mountains could signal approval. Each flash and sound formed dialogue with mortals. Farmers felt storms in the deepest way. A drought could end with rain blessed by thunder. The storm's voice was not fear, it was promise. It said, life will return. The earth will heal. For travelers, thunder was like a compass. A gentle roll meant the road ahead was safe, but a sharp crack made them pause and wait. The storm's voice guided those willing to listen, yet its meaning was not always clear. Sometimes thunder was mystery, not message. Perhaps that was its greatest lesson. Not all is meant to be understood. Some thunder reminded mortals of vastness itself. That awe is part of wisdom. Children were taught to listen with open hearts. Hear the voice of Zeus, their elders said. It is not only in temples but in the sky. Listening meant respect, humility, awareness of balance. The storm was both teacher and storyteller. It showed that the world was alive with presence. That nature was not an enemy, but a song. Every thunder roll was a note in harmony. When storms came, people did not only hide, they stood under roofs or trees, listening. The storm spoke, and they felt small yet connected, to earth, to sky, and to something greater. Zeus's voice in the storm was not about fear. It was about wonder and awe. Even in chaos, there was order. Even in noise, there was meaning. The storm reminded them of the eternal weave, that they were part of something sacred. Today, storms still carry that ancient echo. Thunder rolls, and we pause to listen. We feel the same awe as our ancestors, the same presence, the same voice in the storm. For the storm is not only force, it is language, a reminder, a message, a living voice. Listen closely, and you may hear what they heard. The sacred thunder of Zeus. On Mount Olympus, the air was never still. It shimmered with the presence of immortals. Each god carried strength, temper, and vision for the world. The halls of Olympus were more than feasting grounds. They were council chambers where destinies were shaped. At the center sat Zeus, holding the thunderbolt. He was king. Yet even kings must listen. Harmony could not be built by command alone. It required counsel, conversation, and shared wisdom. When storms troubled the earth, or mortals lost balance, the gods gathered beneath Olympus's shining columns. Their voices rose like wind, fire, and flowing rivers. Hera often spoke first, queen of Olympus. She reminded all of loyalty, family, and promises. Order began, she said, in the bonds of respect. Athena's words were calm, sharp with reason. Justice, she believed, was wisdom guiding choice. Let mortals learn, she would say, and grow by choice. Apollo brought warmth, vision, and prophecy. Without song, he declared, the soul forgets its wings. Poseidon's voice rumbled like the endless sea. He spoke for sailors and those who braved waters. The sea takes, and the sea gives, he said. It is no different from life itself. Hermes, quick and witty, added his counsel. He praised mortal curiosity, trade, and connection. Mortals thrive when they connect, he grinned. Ares spoke with fire, urging courage in struggle. Though sharp, his words too were heard. Even conflict had its place in balance. The Council of Gods was more than debate. It was the heartbeat of Olympus itself, each voice different, yet together, harmony was born. Zeus did not silence them. He listened. He knew balance came from many voices. Mortals prayed not only to Zeus, but to all. To Hera for marriage, Athena for wisdom, Apollo for health, Poseidon for safe journeys, Demeter for harvests, and more besides. Each prayer reached Olympus, carried into council. Zeus listened, weighing their voices carefully. When his thunder rolled, it bore their wisdom too. Without their voices, the thunderbolt was lonely. With them, it was Olympus itself speaking. The ancients believed council preserved balance. Even gods chose to gather and listen. Thunder was not only Zeus, it was Olympus's chorus. Imagine the circle of gods in bright halls, their light spilling outward, their words rising. The world below waited, listening for thunder, not only command, but wisdom carried in storm. The council of the gods was for all creation, a reminder that no voice stands alone. Harmony cannot live without listening. Thunder across mountains and seas was more than Zeus. It was conversation turned to sound, wisdom shaped into storm, balance made audible in the sacred thunder. High above the earth, the clouds gathered in solemn silence. They were not just mist or water, but carriers of blessing. Mortals below looked upward, waiting for the sky's mercy. Fields cracked with dryness, rivers thinned, hearts grew heavy. Then the thunder rolled, not in anger, but in promise. Zeus watched from Olympus and knew the longing of mortals. Their prayers rose like smoke, soft yet urgent, carried by wind. They asked not for riches, but for rain to heal the soil. Zeus understood. His thunderbolt was a bridge, a key to the sky. When the thunder called, clouds gathered like kin above. They circled, dark yet gentle, carrying hope within their weight. The first drops fell, whispers upon the thirsty ground. The earth drank eagerly, releasing the fragrance of life renewed. Mortals lifted their faces, smiling as coolness touched their skin. This was no ordinary weather. It was a sacred gift. Rain was more than water. It was memory, growth, and renewal. Each drop carried divine energy, blessing both root and stone. With every shower, rivers filled and wheat rose again. Families gathered, listening to the rain's rhythm like music. The gift of rain showed power in giving, not striking. Zeus was honored not for thunder alone, but for balance. Storm and calm, lightning and rain, he held them all. Temples echoed with gratitude for clouds that stitched heaven to earth. Villagers told stories of Zeus's promise in rolling clouds. Elders said, "When thunder rumbles, rain will soon follow." Children pressed ears to the ground, waiting for patter of drops. When it came, laughter rose like a hymn of joy. It was silence, not thunder, that frightened their hearts. Poets sang that rain was Zeus's gentlest thunder. Farmers carved clouds into tools, prayers woven in iron. Travelers longed for showers to cool the weary road. Lovers met beneath storms, whispering rain was blessing on love. And so the cycle returned, again and again. Thunder rolled, clouds gathered, rain fell like silver threads. Patience was rewarded, even the driest fields turned green. Rain taught mortals faith in balance, not endless Sunday. Zeus watched, hand on thunderbolt, heart with the rain. True power was not fear, but life given freely. And so the rain fell, a song of the sky. It echoed through valleys, fields, mountains, and seas. Mortals tasted the first drop and felt kindness within. Not only water, but Zeus's gentle blessing on their lips. Sacred thunder was not only roar, but the rain that followed. Blessing poured down, proof that mortals were never forgotten. Night came quietly upon Olympus. The heavens stretched wide. Stars shimmered across the dark canvas, each a spark of eternity. To mortals, they were mysteries. To the gods, they were witnesses. In the quiet of night, oaths were sworn beneath the sky, not of war or vengeance, but of promise and balance. Mortals and gods alike lifted their eyes to the stars. Zeus often gazed into the heavens with deep reflection. His thunderbolt rested, yet his heart sought remembrance. He carried a sacred duty, a promise bound to his crown. Ancients said Zeus swore his first great oath under the stars. He vowed to guard the balance of sky, sea, and earth. His thunder would strike, not to destroy, but to awaken. It would remind creation of its harmony. Mortals, too, spoke vows beneath the stars' silent glow. Farmers promised to tend the land with care. Sailors swore to respect the vastness of the sea. Lovers clasped hands, pledging faith beneath constellations. Each vow was carried by the night wind, rising skyward. The stars, they believed, never forgot a spoken oath. They stood as silent guardians of words born of faith. To break an oath beneath their light was folly and shame. The heavens themselves bore witness to each promise. Stories told of kings who lied beneath constellations. Their kingdoms fell by the weight of broken words. Those who kept faith found strength in their promises. The stars blessed their path with unseen favor. The oath beneath the stars was not about power. It was about truth, pure and enduring. Words spoken beneath the sky could not deceive. Even gods were bound by this sacred truth. Zeus himself was guardian of oaths. Temples burned fires reaching toward the heavens. Priests prayed for courage to keep their word. The people trusted Zeus, who listened with the stars. Thunder rolled faintly across clear night skies. It was said to be Zeus acknowledging a vow, not judgment, but recognition. It had been heard. Children learned the weight of words from elders. They were told promises bound the soul forever. The stars became teachers of truth and silence. Faith was measured not by strength, but by honesty. The oath beneath the stars guided daily life. It shaped leaders, lovers, and travelers alike. It reminded all that harmony rested on promises kept. Every clear night, eyes lifted toward constellations. Some vows were spoken aloud, others held in silence. All believed Zeus heard with his watchful gaze. The sacred thunder was his voice across the sky. But the stars were his eyes, unblinking, eternal. They held the memory of every oath spoken. Under that endless sky, mortals found courage. They knew their words mattered and endured. Promises lived beyond them, woven into eternity. Across ancient Greece, mortals gathered to celebrate Zeus. The festivals honored thunder as more than storms, but as life itself. Villages and city-states filled with music, song, and dance. Lyres sang bright notes, while drums echoed like rolling skies. Children played with oak wreaths, the tree sacred to Zeus. The oak stood as strength, enduring like the god of thunder. Athletes competed in contests of speed, strength, and grace. Each race, each throw, was a living hymn to Olympus. Priests carried sacred fire through streets, lit with devotion. Flames leapt upward, reaching toward the heavens above. Voices rose together in chants of gratitude and praise. They thanked Zeus for rain, storms, and harmony's protection. Travelers marveled at such joy, not fear, for the divine. When clouds gathered, mortals raised arms in welcome. They believed Zeus himself joined their dance of thunder. Poets told stories of wisdom woven in storms. Children listened wide-eyed to verses of guidance and balance. As night fell, torches flickered like lightning in the dark. Hymns softened, floating upward into the watching stars. Families shared food. Neighbors laughed. Communities grew close. They felt Olympus near, not above, but among them. Festivals reminded mortals of gratitude in uncertain lives. Droughts, storms, and seas shifted, but faith endured together. Joy itself became an offering. Unity, a true prayer. Even now, thunder carries echoes of ancient songs. It is the voice of Zeus, remembered across ages. Thunder was not fear, but a song of connection. It was a call to gather, a bond of sky and earth. The festivals lived on as threads of belief, woven into stories, into lives, into hearts of mortals. When they danced and sang beneath wide skies, they felt him. Zeus was in every drumbeat, every flame, every rumble. Thunder was not only in the heavens. During the festivals, it lived within their hearts. High on Mount Parnassus stood the temple of Apollo at Delphi. There, the oracle spoke words shaped by the gods. But sometimes, whispers came not from Apollo, but from Zeus himself. They said his voice rumbled in earth and thunder. Pilgrims traveled from far lands with heavy questions. They sought not only futures, but reassurance from the sky. Priests listened for signs in wind, in clouds, in tremors. Each roll of thunder became a sacred syllable of Zeus. At times, his whispers came as riddles in storms. A sudden cloudburst during harvest spoke of balance. The thunder reminds you abundance requires harmony, the oracle said. To mortals, such words were both warning and comfort. One legend tells of a night when thunder shook Delphi. The Pythia fell into trance, her voice echoing like winds. She spoke of Zeus. The storm carries truth, not ruin. Her words spread quickly, carried like flame across Greece. Fishermen swore the sea stilled when thunder spoke. Farmers told of crops revived after rains poured down. Prophecy was not only spoken, it was lived in storms. Some whispers urged unity among mortals in their quarrels. Others reminded kings their power was borrowed, not owned. Lightning was service, not possession, bright yet fleeting. These truths were passed on in memory and story. Elders told the young, thunder is Zeus reminding us. Prophecy became a shared truth in every storm's rumble. Skeptics doubted, calling thunder only weather and chance. Yet all lingered when lightning split the heavens wide. Some prophecies remained riddles, unsolved through generations. Zeus wove mysteries to awaken deeper thought in mortals. He reminded them, truth often hides inside uncertainty. Above all, prophecy brought mortals hope through hardship. Thunder told them storms would pass and balance return. Darkness never endured without the promise of light. The sacred thunder was more than a call of fear. It was a whisper of destiny shaping mortal lives. It spoke in riddles, in storms, in silence itself. When thunder rolls, it is not only weather, it is prophecy carried from Olympus to mortal hearts. On Olympus, clouds drifted like silver veils over shining peaks. There stood guardians, not soldiers of war, but keepers of balance, chosen not for might, but for the purity of purpose. Spirits of wind, rain, fire, and stone guarded the heights. Some appeared as eagles, their eyes sharper than mortals. Others as robed figures whose steps stirred calm in air. They were revered, not feared, by mortals who glimpsed them. Guardians carried fragments of Zeus's thunder within their being. When storms gathered, they listened first to its voice. They read lightning's pattern, thunder's rhythm, and wind's breath. If storms spoke of imbalance, they bore the message to Zeus. If joy, they let the music drift to the earth. Guardians tended groves, springs, and sacred fields of gods. Every step was reverence, every act a quiet prayer. Legends told of guardians walking unseen among mortals. A stranger giving water, a hand calming frightened children, a gentle voice soothing quarrels before they grew. In councils of gods, they spoke not loudly but true. Their presence reminded Zeus that thunder was balance, not ruin. Their stillness mirrored Hera's loyalty and eternal truth. Some believed guardians were born from the first thunder. No weapons they carried, only strength and watchfulness. They heard harmony or dissonance in existence itself. Mortals found comfort in the idea of guardians. Olympus felt near, not distant. Through their unseen watch, children prayed not only to Zeus, but to them. Travelers whispered thanks on roads through storms and night. Guardians were keepers of memory, collectors of prayers. They remembered every echo of thunder that rolled. Every whispered plea, every festival song was woven. Through them, Olympus carried the tapestry of mortal voices. The sacred thunder did not stand alone in the sky. It was carried and interpreted by eternal guardians. Their joy was in guardianship, their music in skies. Mortals glimpsed figures against the light of Olympus peaks. Real or imagined, the sight brought comfort and hope. Guardians were there, listening, carrying the voice of thunder. Thunder shook the sky, but guardians gave it meaning. Through them, the whisper of Zeus became guidance. It became protection, memory, and eternal hope. In villages high in the mountains and low by the sea, mortals lifted their voices skyward. Their prayers rose in dawn's stillness or in storms. Yet all trusted the thunder of Zeus could hear them. A farmer, hands in the soil, prayed softly, "Send rain, mighty Zeus, that life may grow." He asked not for riches, but for balance, for just enough to make his crops rise from the earth. When thunder rumbled far away, his heart eased. He felt the sky had listened. A sailor gazed across the endless horizon, whispering for calm winds and safe return. To him, thunder was not fear, but a guiding voice across the waters. He believed that if his heart was true, the storm would pass him by. Mothers prayed at night, rocking their children in quiet rooms. They asked for protection, health, and gentle days, far from despair's shadow. When lightning flashed, they smiled, telling their children, "See, the sky listens." Leaders, too, raised prayers in grand temples, seeking wisdom for justice. They feared the thunderbolt not as wrath, but as a call to rule with fairness. The sound of thunder became more than weather. It was the promise of a listener above. Mortals trusted their prayers, rose like smoke, carried by winds to Olympus. Sometimes the answer was rain, sometimes silence. Both felt like response. Festivals brought thousands together, voices woven into one hymn. When thunder rolled, they cheered, believing it was Zeus's reply. Yet the truest prayers were the quietest. A traveler kneeling beneath an oak, a child staring at clouds, a shepherd whispering thanks. These soft voices carried by wind were no less sacred. Legends told of prayers answered in striking ways. Rain ending famine, calm seas after pleas, lightning showing a hidden path. Mortals did not call them accidents, but answers. Through prayer, Zeus was not distant, not unreachable. He was present, woven into daily life, watching through the sound of storms. His thunder was welcomed as reminder. You are not alone beneath the sky. In silence, after rain, mortals reflected on what it meant to be heard. They knew prayers were not commands, but conversations with the heavens. Yes, no, or silence, every answer carried weight. Prayer became the bridge, linking fragile hearts with Olympus above. Each voice, whispered or sung, carried the same hope, to be heard. The sacred thunder was not only power, it was presence, listening, and eternal exchange between heaven and earth, carried on mortal breath. There are moments when sound becomes more than sound. It becomes memory, it becomes truth, it becomes eternal. Such was the nature of Zeus's thunder across the ages. Mortals and gods knew thunder was never just noise in the sky. It was an echo that lived long after the storm had gone. Clouds passed, rain dried, but the memory of thunder remained. Its rhythm lingered in hearts, shaping stories and songs. A child, hearing thunder for the first time, whispered. The sky spoke. Years later, they recalled it as a moment of awakening. Elders nodded, remembering how the same echo guided their youth. Thunder became a thread binding generations through shared memory. Among gods too, the echo held deep meaning. For Hera, it was loyalty unshaken. For Poseidon, kinship between sea and sky. For Athena, wisdom woven into sound. Even gods paused when thunder rolled, reminded of balance. The echo lived in sacred groves and on temple cliffs. Valleys whispered with the memory of storms long past. Travelers felt the air hum, as if thunder still lingered. They swore they heard faint rumbles hidden in silence. The eternal echo belonged to all who listened. It was not weapon nor command, but an enduring voice. It taught patience, humility, and trust in passing storms. Poets captured the echo in verses and hymns. They spoke of riddles in thunder and truths in lightning. They called thunder the heartbeat of the heavens. Even those who never heard it felt its power in song. The echo was a bond between earth and sky. Mortals believed prayers rose upward like echoes in return. Thunder and prayer mirrored each other across the vastness. The echo became connection itself, a bridge of meaning. It linked past and present, mortals and gods, storm and silence. Every prayer, every rumble, left a trace in the world. Even now, thunder rolls across mountains and seas. People pause, listening, feeling the echo in their bones. They may not name Zeus, nor look to Olympus, yet they know the echo still speaks, the sky remembers. Perhaps that is the greatest gift of all, not the lightning, nor the storm, nor even the rain, but the echo that endures when all else is past. The eternal echo of Zeus's thunder still calls us. It invites us to remember, to listen, to believe,